The Yahoo data breach of 2013 remains the largest cyber attack in history, exposing a staggering 3 billion accounts. It all began with a phishing email, a seemingly harmless link clicked by an unsuspected employee. This single mistake allowed hackers to infiltrate Yahoo's systems, creating a backdoor that granted them unrestricted access for over a year. Yes, you heard that right. Over a year. But how did this go unnoticed for so long? The attackers weren't new to this. Reports suggest that they were state-sponsored hackers, possibly linked to Russian intelligence. Once inside, they didn't just skim the surface, they dug deep. Names, email addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, passwords, and even security questions were stolen. This collection of personal information was eventually sold on the dark web, putting billions of users at risk of identity theft and fraud. Unimaginable, right? The scale of the breach wasn't immediately known. Yahoo initially announced in 2016 that 500 million accounts had been compromised. However, investigations later revealed that every single Yahoo account had been affected. The fallout was catastrophic. Yahoo faced class action lawsuits, lost user trust, and saw its $4.8 billion sale to Verizon reduced by $350 million. The breach not only exposed vulnerabilities in Yahoo's security, but also served as a grim reminder of how fragile digital privacy can be. It wasn't just a data theft, it was a wake-up call for the entire online world. Have you ever been affected by a data breach? Share your experiences in the comments below. This breach shook the world. The Equifax data breach of 2017 sent shockwaves through the financial sector, exposing the sensitive information of 147 million people, nearly half the US population. Equifax, a credit reporting giant entrusted with social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and financial data, fell victim to one of the most devastating cyber attacks in history. But this breach wasn't the result of a single swift attack. It was a slow and methodical infiltration. For 76 days, hackers roamed freely within Equifax's systems, exploiting a known vulnerability in their software. The worst part? The vulnerability had been flagged months earlier, yet Equifax failed to apply the necessary patch. This oversight gave attackers the perfect opportunity to siphon off an unprecedented amount of personal data. When the breach was finally discovered, the fallout was immense. People's financial lives were thrown into chaos as social security numbers and credit histories were put up for sale on the dark web. Trust in Equifax plummeted, and the company faced congressional hearings, regulatory fines, and lawsuits totaling over $1.4 billion. Yet, questions remain. Who were the attackers? The Equifax incident wasn't just a data theft, it was a wake-up call, exposing the fragility of our most trusted institutions. And for millions, it served as a grim reminder of how easily personal information can fall into the wrong hands. The Target data breach of 2013 wasn't just a cyber attack, it was a meticulously crafted heist that left millions reeling. It began quietly and unnoticed, with hackers infiltrating a third-party vendor system, an HVAC company, of all things. From there, they gained access to Target's network, exploiting vulnerabilities to plant malware into the retailer's point-of-sale systems. For weeks during the busiest shopping season of the year, the malware worked silently, collecting payment card information as customers swiped their cards at checkout. By the time the breach was discovered, over 40 million credit and debit cards, along with the personal data of 70 million customers, had been stolen. The attack was a masterclass in stealth and precision. The hackers even tested their malware in Target's system before launching the full-scale attack, ensuring maximum damage. The breach wasn't detected until December 2013, when unusual activity on customers' cards raised alarms. The fallout was immediate and widespread. Target faced over $200 million in losses, multiple lawsuits, and a significant hit to its reputation. Customers were left to deal with fraudulent charges and identity theft, while cybersecurity experts scrambled to understand how one of the largest retailers in the US could be so vulnerable. This breach wasn't just about stolen data, but a reminder for retailers and customers alike, revealing the hidden risks in our increasingly digital world. The Sony PlayStation Network breach of 2011 was a cyber attack that rocked the gaming world, leaving millions of users exposed and PlayStation players offline for weeks. It all began with a sophisticated hack that infiltrated Sony servers, exploiting weaknesses to steal sensitive data. In April 2011, hackers gained access to the personal information of over 77 million PSN accounts. Names, addresses, emails, birth dates, and even credit card information were compromised. For gamers, it wasn't just the theft of data, it was the theft of trust. The breach forced Sony to shut down the PSN entirely, leaving players unable to access games, movies, and other services for 23 days. But what made this breach so shocking was Sony's response. Users weren't informed of the attack until a week after the network went down, sparking outrage and accusations of negligence. Sony later revealed that the attackers had exploited outdated security systems, a glaring oversight for a tech giant. The fallout was devastating. Sony faced lawsuits, regulatory scrutiny, and over $171 million in losses to rebuild its systems and compensate users. For gamers, it was a wake-up call about the vulnerabilities of digital platforms. The PSN breach wasn't just a technical failure. It was a painful reminder of how quickly your online lives can be disrupted by unseen threats. Have you ever checked into a hotel trusting your personal information was safe? In 2018, Marriott International shattered that trust with one of the largest data breaches in history, exposing sensitive details of over 500 million guests. The breach wasn't new. It had been quietly unfolding since 2014, starting with Starwood Hotels Group, which Marriott acquired in 2016. Hackers infiltrated the reservation system, exploiting vulnerabilities to access names, phone numbers, passport details, emails, and even encrypted payment card information. For 4 years, the attack went unnoticed, allowing the perpetrators to collect a staggering amount of data. It wasn't until late 2018 that Marriott discovered the breach. The fallout was immediate and severe. Customers feared identity theft, lawsuits poured in, and regulators fined Marriott $24 million for failing to protect guest information. But the bigger question remained: how could such a trusted global brand allow hackers to operate undetected for so long? The Marriott breach was a chilling reminder of the hidden risks in mergers and acquisitions, where vulnerabilities in acquired systems can become major liabilities. For millions of travelers, it was a sobering lesson. Even in the most trusted spaces, your data might not be as secure as you think. Have you ever shared your professional life online, trusting it would remain secure? In 2012, LinkedIn, the platform where millions connect, network, and build careers, was at the center of a massive data breach that exposed the vulnerabilities of even the most trusted digital spaces. The breach began with a sophisticated attack on LinkedIn's poorly encrypted password database. Hackers exploited weaknesses in the platform's security, gaining access to 6.5 million user passwords. But it didn't stop there. Years later, in 2016, it was revealed that the breach was far worse than initially reported, with over 117 million accounts compromised. The stolen data, including email addresses and hashed passwords, was posted on hacker forums and even sold on the dark web. Millions of professionals face the risk of identity theft and unauthorized access to other accounts connected to their LinkedIn credentials. LinkedIn's response was met with criticism. The company initially downplayed the severity, and its outdated password encryption practices drew scrutiny. The breach forced LinkedIn to overhaul its security measures, including implementing stronger encryption and offering guidance to users on securing their accounts. The 2012 LinkedIn breach wasn't just a wake-up call for the platform. It was a stark reminder for all users about the importance of strong, unique passwords and the risks of relying too heavily on digital platforms for professional and personal connections. What if the software you rely on every day, like Photoshop, Acrobat, and others, was compromised, and your personal data was stolen without your knowledge? In 2013, Adobe experienced a breach so massive that it not only exposed the financial and personal information of millions, but also put the foundation of its software at risk. Hackers infiltrated Adobe systems, accessing 38 million customer records, including sensitive data like credit card information, usernames, and encrypted passwords. The real shock came when it was revealed that Adobe's source code for popular programs like Photoshop had also been stolen. This wasn't just about data theft. It opened the door for future cyber attacks that could impact millions more users. The breach went unnoticed for weeks, and by the time Adobe confirmed the attack, the damage was done. Customer trust had been shattered, and the company was left to deal with the fallout of not only protecting user data, but also securing its own software from future exploitation. With this breach, Adobe wasn't just a victim. It became a cautionary tale about the vulnerabilities of even the most trusted digital platforms. If a giant like Adobe can be breached, how do you ensure your own digital security? What if your bank, the one you trust with your financial life, was hacked by putting your credit scores, loan applications, and personal details in the hands of cyber criminals? That's exactly what happened in 2019. In 2019, Capital One became the latest victim of a massive data breach that exposed over 100 million customers' sensitive data, and the way it happened will make you question the safety of your financial information. The breach was executed by a former Amazon Web Services employee who exploited a vulnerability in Capital One's cloud infrastructure. It wasn't just a small error, it was a major oversight that allowed the hacker to access personal information, including names, addresses, credit scores, and even social security numbers. The stolen data also included 140,000 bank account numbers and over 80,000 linked credit card applications. What made this breach even more shocking was how long it went undetected. For several months, the hacker had access to Capital One's systems, and the attack wasn't discovered until July 2019. The fallout was immediate. Capital One faced over $100 million in penalties and lawsuits, not to mention the damage to its reputation. This breach wasn't just another cyber attack. It was a reminder of how vulnerable even the most secure, well-established companies can be, especially when they rely on third-party services. Capital One's breach left customers wondering, how safe is their data really? Which cybersecurity breaches story impacted you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know if you'd like to see a part 2 exploring more cybersecurity events. Join us next time as we delve deeper into the events that have shaped our digital world, because every cybersecurity breach has a story worth telling.